Time to make another audio. Well, I stopped this video and I saw somebody take a little snapshot there. I'll have to try to delete that clipboard before I reboot this computer. Um, because I did not intend to reveal the names of these people who just jogged another memory. Again, these are just memories that I'm sharing here. Uh, so, this older guy is telling the younger guy a story about it didn't really matter where he was living. Uh, about once or twice a year, the TV was just cut on, and I was like, man, that reminds me of a sort of paranormal, thinking about poltergeist and all this kind of stuff. So that reminded me of another sort of paranormal, ghostly type encounter. So this was years ago. Oh, I think it was probably around 1990 time frame. Uh, I think we were just doing some patent searching. We were not actually filing any kind of patents for any sort of electronic equipment. Speaking of electronic equipment acting funny, uh, I'm on the phone with my buddy, my former business partner. He's up in Chicago. I'm down in Louisiana near near a wildlife refuge where I had a sort of a spiritual experience. Um, so anyhow, this was about the time I started having those kind of enlightening experiences, and I didn't need any kind of Anunnaki coming and getting alerting me that something funny is going on. I didn't need any strange Anunnaki or Men in Black showing up, threatening me like they threatened this guy here. Uh, they wanted his roll of film, or wanted to know if he had filmed anything, which you're not supposed to take cameras in there either. Anyhow, I'm sitting on the phone talking to him, and we're just sort of, we're sort of daydreaming, plotting our future together. That we're gonna grow this new technology of virtual reality, and we're gonna use it to train surgeons and pilots and save lives. We're gonna use it to accelerate education so kids don't have to sit in prison camps for 12 years to just then move on to a more advanced type of prison camp. So, we could accelerate learning in elementary schools and things like that. So we're just sitting there talking about the bright future for this new technology. And this is back around 1990, and I had just recently moved into this old haunted house. Apparently, it was a haunted house that I had renovated. I'll get to the story of the haunted house eventually. Um, but I just want to stop right here and make another audio recording about this particular experience. About he said something about the TV just coming on all by itself, and the young man said that happened to him too. Well, I'm sitting here talking to him on the phone, and right about this time of sort of maximum excitement of, hey, we got a bright future ahead of us. Everybody's starting to get familiar with home computers, and eventually it'll be where everybody will have access to, reliable information and news and everything. So that was about what the conversation was. Just hey, there's so many possibilities. The possibilities that are going to be in the future. The distant future of the year 2000, because this was back in 1990, right? So yes, this is a true story. So I'm on the phone with my business partner there. That was talking about, well, I need you to look for this or look for that, and I'm learning this, I'm studying that. And all of a sudden, this, like a beam of bright white, it was so white it was like bluish looking, maybe. A bluish white, super bright, like a square beam of light just appears on the the wall opposite. So around my corner to the right is where the TV would be. And so where's this light shining on the wall? I thought, well, someone just turned my TV on, and they just turned it on to a blue screen or something. This is weird. And I said, hold on, man. There's a like my TV just turned on. He's like, what? I was like, man. And all of a sudden, that light just sort of crept up and sort of turned into a trapezoidal shape, and it just sort of vanished into the ceiling. Like it went into the ceiling, and there was no more light. And so I looked behind me, like, did it come through the window? Well, behind me was nothing but just an old swampy ravine, no roads, there's no way to get any kind of vehicle back there. It's my backyard, just butted right up to this wildlife refuge. So, uh, I get up and go and look, and the TV's turned off. It didn't come from the TV. And so I get back on the phone. I was like, man, you're never gonna believe this. Like I just saw this blue square beam of light just appeared on the wall. Like, I mean, is there somebody like behind the house flying shining a flashlight through the house, or did my TV just turn on by itself all of a sudden, or what? He's like, man, stop it, you're freaking me out. And I was like, oh well, I just kind of blew it off to more to calm him down than anything else. I was baffled though. My little inner Sherlock Holmes was smelling a rat, so to speak. I was like, something ain't right here. Um, well, this I may as well continue on with some of these other stories related and associated to that house in that particular area. Um, that was probably right around the time, you know, that the old man that owned the property that we had bought, that we were in the process of buying from. We were buying this old house that I had renovated with my ex-father-in-law, and I had renovated this house. Well, he comes over one day and he's like, "Oh, Sunsaver, old boy, house thing? Oh yeah, doing just fine, doing just fine. Oh, I was just wondering, you ain't heard any bones rattling and chains clinking and things banging in the night, have you?" I was like, no. I mean, am I supposed to? Well, this old house is haunted, don't you? No, that's news to me. First of all, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm a scientist. We don't really buy into that kind of hocusy pocusy stuff. So, kind of just blew him off too, and went on about my merry way. So, that's the conclusion to that story. Uh, Never saw anything like that again until about a year ago. Was visiting with a widow and her daughter, and some kids there, and was just sort of starting to feel uncomfortable. I was like, like, why am I here? What is my motive? What am I trying to do? And I thought, well, I kind of said a little prayer, like, am I doing the right thing? Should I stay here? Should I leave? I thought, well, no, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I'm just sort of, trying. She's helping me. I'm helping her. I knew the guy, we'll just call him David, who recently had passed. And I thought, well, yeah, David knew me. He liked me. He was the one that invited me in that night. So he wouldn't mind me being here looking after his widow. And like right when I thought that thought, boom, a beam of like a blue square of light just appears on this live oak tree, and it just kind of floats up and shoots off into space. And I mean, I very, very quickly remembered, hey, I've seen this once before, a very long time ago, at that haunted house, back when I was married, back when I was, searching patent databases in Chicago. And saw a whole lot of strange coincidences there. So, and then the other story, again, again from this same man. Uh, he went camping on federally protected lands, uh, very loosely protected with just a sort of a chain link fence and a gate and a chain there and a padlock on the chain. But the padlock is not really locked. I mean, it's locked to the chain. The chain's just sort of wrapped around the fence, right? It's very sort of loosely wrapped. That's only going to stop your honest crooks. So, we just, no hunting, no fishing, no, well, you're not supposed to remove anything either. You're not supposed to, you can't even pick up a rock and take it out of that protected wildlife refuge. So I go down there, and this was just an outing one day, and bored, and I said, oh, I'll get off of the physics and look into archaeology, go look around here. People have said, oh yeah, you can find airheads out there all the time, just walking along the road. So I go, and I'm out in this wildlife refuge, and the area where I'm finding like flint shards, and where obviously tools were being made and stuff, and it was almost like a garbage rift. Like this was the garbage pile. Like there was little baked rocks and stuff. Whereas obviously, fired clay where they were making pots, maybe. So this is like, well, this is maybe there's an area where they were making pottery. Maybe this is an area where they were making arrowheads. And then there's a little hill on the other side. There's a little creek there, and so dirt road just went across these culverts. And well, to the right on the other side of the water, there's like a little hill, and it's obviously an Indian mound, what we call Indian mound, a Native American burial ground, supposedly. But I thought, looking at the road and everything, I realized at some point in time, somebody made the road through here, and they just put a culvert down, and they said, oh, well, here's a pile of dirt, we'll just bulldoze this right over here. And so this is why this little creek is just full of arrowheads and sharp, mostly broken, or like the refuse. And I thought, well, what if that so-called Indian mound was actually just a garbage pile, like a landfill, that Native Americans or whoever, did this pottery and ancient artifacts a long, long time ago. And so, yeah, like some idiot just didn't know any better and bulldozed it, a long time ago. The road was probably made in the 20s or something, 1920s. And so that's probably how the creek became so full, and the roadway, like from right there, where there's a little mound there, and there's a roadway there. Just from there on, like just in that area, was where you could find airheads pretty easily. And so I thought, well, it's already been bulldozed. It's not in the right stratigraphic, stratigraphy or topology. It's not in the right layer to get any useful archaeological information. Like, obviously, this was just like a dump, an old dump of, broken airheads, and weapon making factory or something, where Native Americans were making these airheads a long, long time ago. So it's already been bulldozed. They're all in the roadway. It's not like I'm disturbing a site that has some sort of archaeological significance to it. And it's not a protected species or something like this. So I thought, well, it won't hurt to take, some of these things I find just washed out in the roadway. So, and everybody said, oh yeah, if you go after a rain, is the best time to find an arrowhead along the roadway there, in this federally protected wildlife refuge area. So, long story short, I, you know, would typically find, a broken piece here, a broken piece there, something looks almost like an arrowhead. Boom, I would find a really nice, just perfect arrowhead, and literally it started raining. Like, just clouds came out of nowhere. It wasn't a UFO. It wasn't something I shouldn't be photographing. It wasn't some secret military project or anything, as far as I know. I'm just a sort of an amateur, science guy out here, looking for airheads to put in my rock collection. And the first time it happened, I was curious. I kept waiting for the rain. I said go after a rain because it's easier to find the airheads to wash out into the roadway in the dirt road and through the park there. So it had a bad drought that summer. I remember that, and it just never would rain. So I said, well, I'll go on out there and check it out. So first time I went, looked around, and I couldn't really find much. And then I eventually did, and I found this airhead. And well, it just rained, just clouds come out of nowhere. And it starts raining, and so I'm just sort of running to my car, running to the gate, there to because there's no ATVs allowed or no all-terrain vehicles allowed either. So I had to really sort of jog to the car, a good quarter mile to the car, and get back home. And so I didn't think much about it. And I don't know how much time passed, maybe a couple weeks or so. No rain or already rained, whatever, or still in a drought. And I go out there and look around, and well, this time I'm walking out towards the site where obviously an Indian mound got bulldozed a long time ago. And I find the airheaders right away. I walk 10 feet through the gate and find the airhead, boom, right there. Boom, just clouds come out of nowhere, thunder and lightning like a massive, massive thunder supercell comes out of nowhere. Clear blue sky. No indications of weather coming in the local weather report. How is this possible? Oh man, that's just a coincidence. That's just another coincidence. So a few weeks or month, maybe another few, next weekend, maybe. I don't know how long it was. I'll go out there again. This might be a good day to just look around and see, and maybe somebody ought to go, alert archaeology department and go excavate this other Indian mound that still appears to be intact. And so I go out there and look around, and after a while, sure enough, I'm kind of like you sort of praying. I was sort of agnostic at that time. I was sort of in that phase of not really being spiritual at all, just sort of agnostic, or we'll wait and see on that, whether or not there is any kind of life after death or anything like that, supernatural, anything. I was just pure science. I was the science guy. I was Mr. Know-It-All. And find another airhead. Literally 10 seconds, clouds just start forming, thunder within 10 seconds, rumbling thunder, close, just appears. Sky starts to darken. Here I am running to my car again. It's like, well, shoot, they don't need any forest rangers out here to prevent people from stealing arrowheads because you got Mother Nature or God or somebody doing it, guarding this sacred burial grounds and protected lands there. So, because, three strikes you're out, that's not a coincidence. Every time I found any sort of arrowhead or Native American artifact on that ground, a storm would just come out of nowhere and start raining on me and throwing lightning bolts at me. Zeus or Thor himself. So take those two stories for what they're worth. Get out of it whatever you want to get out of it. I mean, I'm not trying to convince anybody that UFOs are real. I'm not trying to convince anybody that there is a God or isn't a God or gods or whatever. It's just a very strange synchronicity that these two men have had similar experiences and they've seen a similar sort of crescent shaped object, let's say, that this Kenneth Arnold guy saw a long time ago. And I'm not really what you would call a UFO researcher. It's just sort of been a part-time hobby, just curious anytime something would kind of comes up and then it just vanishes. And you want to hear the rest of the story. Yeah. So those are just two accounts. The blue beam of light that I saw back around that same time frame that I had a very paranormal experience on federally protected lands. And then I saw the blue beam of light again. No TVs around, no cameras around either. Uh, very bizarre coincidence. I'm just not at liberty to share my own sort of hypotheses about what it is, or how it's all kind of coming together the way it is. But I don't know. I would just, I guess there's two camps. There's the threat narrative, and there's the other narrative. That's, oh, they're all just loving space brothers. I don't know. I mean, I got the impression that there's very sort of had a military-like command structure. This one little dude seemed pretty hungry, and they were not human. And so this guy who's telling his story about camping, said that his buddy told him the same thing. Saw his buddy looking out of the tent and crying, and said they're not human. Um, but I don't even know really for sure. Maybe could be humans from the future. Could be aliens, could be ghosts, could be enemies, could be time bandits, could be a whole lot of things. Um, so I guess a more important question would be, um, where's the focus at? Because the first time I saw this blue beam of light just shining on the wall and it vanished through the ceiling, I was on the phone with a business partner, and we were discussing plans for a better future for all humanity. The second time I saw this blue beam of light just appear at the base of an oak tree and then vanish off into space, I was sitting there sort of trying to plan a better future for my own humanity and my neighbor's widowed wife and her kids. So that's it. That's it for this video audio. Thanks for listening.